Professor Alan Dershowitz, Felix Frankfurter Professor of Law at Harvard Law School, thank you very much for joining us in Critical Debrief. And one issue on the front page of every newspaper over the last few months has been this Trayvon Martin case, the Stand Your Ground statute in Florida, the whole issue of self-defense and the duty to retreat, and what it all means.
Well, the law of self-defense traces itself back to the Bible, probably pre-biblical times. John Adams used it, obviously, in defending the people who were thought to be guilty of the Boston Massacre. He talked about it as God's first law. The Bible obliges you to act in self-defense. Better to protect an innocent life than a guilty life. And in the medieval times, it began to move a little bit in the area of property law. The king may not come into your home. Nobody comes into your home. It's your sanctuary.
A man's home is his castle.
A man's home is his castle. And that rule about being able to stand your ground in your home became part of the American common law, and virtually every state adopted it. But then the National Rifle Association, several years ago, began to develop an extension of the home as the castle rule to the street, and basically wrote statutes that said anywhere you are, you have no obligation to retreat. It's not manly to retreat. It's not macho to retreat. And that's been very controversial and very critical. And Florida enacted that law with exceptions, and it's that law with exceptions that may come into play in the Martin Zimmerman.
But what do we know about the basic facts of the case and how it may play out in light of the Florida statute?
Well, I think you can easily say that the fault for the confrontation was primarily on the side of George Zimmerman. He had no real business profiling, if he did, this young man, stopping him, following him. The police said back off. He should have backed off. But there's a difference between moral responsibility and legal responsibility. We don't know what happened once the two encountered each other. We don't know who started the confrontation. We don't know who struck the first blow. But what we do know is there came a time, most likely, that Martin had Zimmerman down. At that point, Zimmerman couldn't retreat. The Stand Your Ground statute
I knew that you'd bring the statute.
And it says that the Stand Your Fence justification does not come into play when, quote, the person invoking it initially provokes the use of force against himself or herself. So Zimmerman may lose, probably will lose, stand your ground, but he still has traditional self-defense that goes back to the Bible.
And that traditional self-defense is based on the majority view, reasonable man standard.
Juries use common sense. Every jury understands what self-defense means. It's not like other defense, not like insanity. Nobody knows what insanity means. Who knows what mental illness? People don't experience that on a day-to-day basis. Everybody knows what self-defense means.
The prosecution, which already has the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt, the prosecution has some heavy mountains to climb here in order to achieve a conviction.
I think the mountains are unclimbable when it comes to second-degree murder. Remember that the prosecutor here charged not manslaughter, which was what most people were expecting, but second-degree murder, the elements of which are very, very difficult to prove, particularly in a case like this. Now, she has a reputation for overcharging in order to get a plea bargain. She's done that in other cases.
She being the prosecutor?
Prosecutor in this case, special prosecutor. So that may be her strategy in this case. There's a good defense lawyer who obviously is going to consider all the options, but I predict this case will probably go to jury trial. And the risk is that because she overcharged, she might get an acquittal. But if this case is played out on self-defense, it will become a leading case on self-defense because the issues are so complicated and because, as you say, we don't know, we will never know. No one will ever know what happened in that dark area, that rainy night where two people alone encountered each other and one of them ended up dead.
Professor Alan Dershowitz, we could spend hours. We at Critical Debrief thank you.